Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we take the most dense, complicated, and occasionally just ridiculous documents out there, and we try to turn them into pure distilled understanding.
And today,
Oh.
today feels less like distilling and more like wrestling a linguistic monster to the ground.
That is a perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
We are attempting what I can only call linguistic and logistical triage. Our source material is a press release from a company that calls itself Megagobble Global Inc., MGG for short.
And if there was ever a source that actively tried to hide its meaning, I mean, this is it. This material, it reads less like corporate communication and, well, more like declaration of war on simplicity itself.
100%. The jargon, the sheer, what's the word you, sesquipedanticism?
Sesquipedanticism, the overwhelming, almost painful use of long, obscure, and, often completely invented words. It's truly staggering. We had to constantly reach for a fictional MGG dictionary just to get through it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They didn't just write a press release. They authored what they grandly call the quiddity of the quirk, a Megagobble Global Inc., fantastic survey of multifarious trivialities and their obsequious ancillary systems.
It's a mouthful.
It is.
Yeah.
So our mission today is defined by MGG itself. We have to cut through this Gongorical-Luperlacted chronicle.
Which I think just means a verbose, glossy history.
Right. We have to cut through that and figure out what on earth they were actually selling, and maybe more importantly, what they're trying to hide with all this complexity.
And the core insight, once you scrape away all those layers of invented vocabulary, it's profoundly counterintuitive. MGG is claiming that they've built a sophisticated, bleeding-edge, autonomous AI infrastructure that is dedicated to managing and producing the world's most mundane and trivial devices.
Trivial. Like, what are we talking about?
We are talking about state-of-the-art computational power being applied to things you would toss in a junk drawer without a single second thought.
And what's fascinating is how MGG gets ahead of the inevitable criticism that, their products are useless. They seem to look right at the customer and say, you think this is trivial. No, you are the problem.
Exactly. They characterize these products as get this, Nugget transmogrifications.
Cool. Break that down for us.
Trivialities that have been fundamentally transformed by their technology. And then they immediately dismiss any critics. They claim that only the dotty pole or the ultra-crepidarian, essentially the fool or the ignorant amateur who criticizes something way beyond their knowledge, only those people would have noticed these objects' previous lack of, gravitas.
So it's corporate gaslighting on a global scale.
It really is.
So if we take MGG's premise at face value, we are dealing with a company that believes triviality is an engineering challenge that requires maximum, overwhelming complexity.
And that's what the sources reveal, fundamentally. MGG's claim is that AI is woven into every conceivable step of these products' lives.
Every step.
I mean, design, manufacturing, logistics, customer service, and even the philosophical assessment. They call it the teleosophicality of items as simple as a glow-in-the-dark spork.
A glow-in-the-dark spork.
Yeah.
Wow, so this is really an infrastructure story. It's just dressed up in a comedy routine.
That's the perfect summary.
Okay, so if we're going to understand the products, I guess we have to start with the philosophy. We have to grapple with this underlying manifesto first. MGG claims they're operating on a level that's just completely separate from conventional business.
It's a whole different plane of existence for them, apparently.
So let's unpack this. It starts with a surprisingly generic, yet also slightly menacing mission statement: the tireless pursuit of making the world a better place for us. And I feel like the emphasis is very clearly on that us.
Oh, absolutely. And this pursuit, they say, is all about revealing the abstraphenomenality of their creations.
Abstraphenomenal.
The profoundly hidden complexity. It's classic corporate doublespeak, but that term is key. They believe there is a hidden, sublime reality to what they make, a reality that only their technology can access.
So the only reason we, the uninitiated, can't see it is because the world itself is just too messy.
Exactly. Which they describe as the contemporary technosphere being a multi-circuitous nexus of fluxtaposition and often inchoate invention.
In English, please.
It's a very dense way of saying the world is a complex, interconnected web of overlapping, shifting, and often just unfinished technology. In other words, chaos.
And they're the ones bringing order to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are positioning themselves as the sole arbiters of order within that chaos. MGG's leadership, according to their own manifesto, operates under what they term a neo-crypticist vision.
Neo-crypticist, so a new kind of hidden vision.
Precisely. This isn't just standard innovation. It implies a deliberate, esoteric, almost secret approach to innovation that only they have the intellectual horsepower to manage. It's about designing technology that is fundamentally inscrutable to competitors, to regulators, to everyone.
And to study this inscrutable world, of course, they don't use standard scientific inquiry. They rely on their own proprietary methods to justify this insane level of over-engineering for trivial objects.
Correct. They use proprietary qualiantimetrics.
Which sounds completely made up.
It almost certainly is. It suggests they use their own unique, quantifiable system for analysis, one that might defy traditional mathematics. And they pair that with rigorous pseudologicology.
Okay, they actually put pseudo in the name.
The fact that they use the prefix pseudo is probably the most honest thing in the entire document. They are admitting to using a highly complex, possibly non-existent scientific logic to perform what they call a cutilexic examination of these trivial items.
So a painstaking, almost surgical dissection and cataloging of every single item's existence, all governed by a logic that is fundamentally tailored to MGG's own purposes.
You've got it.
But let's get to the core justification, what they call the nexus of complexity. Why does MGG argue that this massive AI infrastructure is actually necessary for, say, a cat toy?
Right. This is where they try to link the trivial to the sublime. Their argument is that these mundane devices are, and I'm quoting, inextricably and indeed perfunctorily linked to far, far larger systems.
Perfunctorily? So linked almost as a matter of routine.
Exactly. The items aren't isolated. They are part of these sophisticated cacophylogenetical systems that govern our invisible infrastructure.
Cacophylogenetical, let me guess. That suggests a lineage or an evolution that is inherently discordant, complex, probably really messy.
That's a great interpretation. So yes, your glow-in-the-dark spork is actually a critical, unavoidable node in a vast, sprawling infrastructural web that keeps MGG and perhaps the whole economy running.
And that is precisely their claim.
It is. MGG views these pervasive technical requirements not as a choice they made, but as an ineluctable and univocolaptic fact of our era.
Two more words to unpack. Ineluctable. Unavoidable.
Unavoidable, inescapable. And univocolaptic implies a singular, definitive, and perfectly consistent outcome.
So they're basically saying this complexity is absolutely required by the modern world, and it must be implemented with perfect robotic consistency, full stop. There's no simpler path.
You've nailed it.
But wait, if they need this complexity just to run their systems, why cloak it in language that is guaranteed to alienate everyone? This has to bring us to the cult of personality. Surely just using standard English would save them millions in technical writing fees, right?
That is the central paradox, and MGG actually addresses it directly. The documents clearly state that the complexity and the inability of any outsider to understand it is specifically designed to maintain MGG's cherished cult of personality through relentless technological adulation.
You're kidding. So they are spending billions on R&D, not just on products, but on language, just to appear clever. That seems monumentally inefficient.
Unless the inefficiency itself is the metric of success. The inefficiency is the point. The profound sesquipedanticism, all those absurdly long words, is explicitly used as an engine.
An engine.
It's a necessity or a constraint. They are using the jargon as a necessary tool to illustrate the immutabilitarian complexity.
The unchanging, absolutely essential complexity.
Within these simple devices, they are deliberately establishing a barrier to entry for understanding, forcing the reader, the consumer, you, to just accept their superior intellect.
So the message is, you can't possibly dissect the operation that created this device, therefore you must admire it. If I have to spend a week just researching why a self-clogging toilet needs cryo-electron analysis, MGG has already won. They've established themselves as the sole entity capable of operating at this scale. It's technological intimidation.
And that technological intimidation is intended to pave the way for their much larger, much higher stakes projects, which I'm sure we'll get to later.
Right.
But first, let's see, this philosophy actually applied to the physical world, starting with their consumer product line.
Okay. We jump straight from this esoteric philosophy to the feline fingle-fangle, the cat toy.
The cat toy.
This is presented as a paradigma of purolepticism, which I take to mean a perfect example of childishness.
Right.
And it's intended to stimulate the pugnacious science, the urge to fight of domestic felids. It is, by MGG's own ridiculous terms, a high-tech object designed to be aggressively battered by a cat.
And the scientific rigor they claim is involved here is, well, it's shocking. We are talking about integrating AI into material science and R&D for a chew toy.
Yeah.
This section is maybe the most direct example of MGG applying like military-grade analysis to a truly deeply trivial product.
So let's start with the material science. If a cat attacks this synthetic mouse, the morphology, the shape has to resist the the rumbustious funcularity.
The rumbustious circularity, a wonderful word for a cat's aggressive play.
So how do they scientifically achieve this durability?
MGG's source material requires cryo-electron analysis of polymer stress thresholds.
Wait, hold on. Cryo-electron analysis, cryo-EM. Isn't that Nobel Prize-winning stuff used for, like, drug development and mapping viruses?
It is exactly that. It's a technique used to look at the near-atomic structure of biological molecules. They freeze the material down to cryogenic temperatures and then use an electron microscope to see exactly how the polymer chains are arranged and where all the stress points lie.
So, they're using equipment that could be designing vaccines or modeling the structure of a human virus just to make sure the plastic mouse doesn't break when Tittles decides to attack it.
Precisely. They are seeking to understand the fundamental atomic structure of the plastic, not just in some theoretical sense, but to withstand the specific force profile of a domestic cat attack. They want to ensure the material doesn't undergo unexpected molecular failure.
This is extreme over-engineering. They're analyzing this material like it's a component for the International Space Station, not a piece of fluff and plastic that's destined to end up under the sofa.
It's the definition of it.
And the quality control on something as simple as the color and the stuffing, it's equally rigorous. MGG needs the mouse to have a, quote, winsome or snout-fair coloration.
Right. So the pigment quality control is integrated with an AI-driven spectrophotometer.
And a spectrophotometer is?
It's a device that measures the intensity of light as a function of its wavelength. It's used in serious labs to analyze chemical compounds or, ensure color consistency in high-end automotive paint.
Of course.
But MGG's AI system doesn't just confirm the color is correct. It simultaneously analyzes the spectral data to ensure the chemical compounds are absolutely non-toxic, compliant with every global safety protocol, and free of any carking chemical residue.
And then there's the inside of the toy, the structural integrity of the stuffing. Its nanofiber density is checked by an AI-integrated imaging system that provides tomography.
Tomography. Think of a CT scan in a hospital. It's a technique that uses penetrating waves, like X-rays, to produce a 3D image of a slice through a solid object.
So they're using medical-grade structural imaging to check that the density of the polyester stuffing is perfectly uniform across all 3 dimensions of a toy mouse.
They're ensuring there are no hollow spots, no weak points in the fluff. This guarantees maximum rumbustious jolscularity resistance and, my favorite part, a consistent mouthfeel for the cat.
The lengths they go to for consistent mouthfeel. Wow. But okay, the real complexity has to come in the toy's function, the movement and the kinematics.
Yeah.
It's all designed to prevent the cat from quickly lapsing into insouciance.
The dreaded boredom.
Exactly.
Yes. The advanced toy incorporates an actuator mechanism governed by a highly integrated AI microcontroller. The intelligence here is dedicated entirely to generating movement sequences that are mathematically non-repeating.
And they define these movement options specifically, right? Manual, aleatory, or stochastic. So what's the difference between just random movement and MGG's stochastic approach?
Well, aleatory would be purely random, like a coin flip. A cat might actually figure that out pretty quickly and realize it's patternless and therefore boring.
Okay.
Stochastic is more sophisticated. It means the movements are randomly determined, yes, but they adhere to a defined statistical distribution or a probability model. For instance, the AI knows that a successful hunt pattern might involve, say, 70% crouching, 20% fast starts, and 10% pausing. But the timing and the location of those events are randomized within that statistical framework.
So the AI is running a constantly evolving probabilistic hunting simulation, and its only purpose is to maximize the cat's pugnacious science. That is a phenomenal amount of processing power dedicated to preventing temporary feline boredom.
And this brings us right back to the technological adulation. They include an app. Of course they do.
Of course.
It lets the user record and replay their own hand movements for the toy to mimic. And MGG's source actually includes this moment of self-aware cynicism, admitting that this is a supremely subtrivial task given the cat's disinterest in exact repetition.
So the feature is entirely for the human.
Completely. It's designed to make the owner feel technologically connected to their pet's fleeting moments of aggression.
That phrase is just beautiful. A technological feature that they themselves admit is supremely subtrivial. Okay, let's try and tackle the pervasive AI integration. I think you called it the manufacturing flood. We have to group this overwhelming list of integration points to really grasp the scope of MGG's infrastructure claim, because this feels like the heart of the deep dive.
It really is. This list proves that the product itself is merely the physical endpoint of a massive, sprawling digital ecosystem. Let's start with data, design, and R&D.
The R&D data sounds intense. It involves aggregating testing data that's specifically related to the cat's pandiculation
Which is stretching.
and jactation.
Tossing itself around.
So that data, the kinematics of aggressive cat play, is fed back into a central AI server, which then actively refines future iterations of the toy.
That's right. The AI is integrated directly with the design software, constantly tweaking the shape, the weight, the internal actuator system, all to maximize feline enthusiasm over time. It's an evolutionary arms race between MGG's AI and a cat's tendency toward insouciance.
An arms race against boredom. Okay, let's move into production and component logistics. This is where the complexity truly becomes staggering, I imagine. The AI is managing everything from the moment the material is conceptualized to the moment it's packaged.
It's total infrastructural control. The AI manages raw material sourcing, it negotiates prices, it determines the optimal inventory levels for the specific fabrics and polymers, it handles all the component logistics, making sure that the microcontrollers and the actuators arrive at the assembly line with
Univocolaptic consistency.
Exactly. The AI schedules the entire factory floor automation, managing the robotic arms that assemble all the components.
And there's the granular detail here that just stands out. The AI system manages these niche micro-component testing systems, like the one dedicated to testing the actuator motor itself, to make sure it meets the rotational speed requirements that were determined by the stochastic movement algorithm.
Yes, and I really want to zoom in on the lubricant choice.
The lubricant.
MGG has dedicated AI to selecting the highly specific, non-toxic lubricant for the tiny, high-speed gears inside that actuator mechanism. This AI analyzes temperature fluctuations, predicted wear rates, chemical compatibility, all for a mechanism that a cat will likely destroy in 6 months.
This is the definition of that immutabilitarian complexity applied to a completely disposable item. It's not about finding a lubricant. It's about optimizing the ideal lubricant through automated, high-level computational analysis.
It's the ultimate expression of control over a completely trivial variable. And beyond the component manufacturing, the AI manages the end of the line. Packaging optimization, heat sealing to ensure product sterility, and final precision weighing to detect any assembly errors. It uses computer vision systems for quality control, detecting and removing defective parts, and running accelerated simulations for long-term durability. The AI is the final product quality assessment system itself.
And finally, there's the business and customer interaction layer. This is where the fluff and plastic meet the financial ledger.
The AI is utterly embedded in MGG's corporate nervous system. It handles the commercial strategy, financial ledger, tracking every single expense down to that specific lubricant purchase.
Of course.
Shipping route optimization and invoicing. It manages stock at various global warehouses, it analyzes retail display data to determine the best shelf placement, and it forecasts inventory requirements based on holiday demand and perceived mega kitsch appeal.
And the moment the customer actually interacts with the product, the AI is still there.
Indeed. If you have a problem with your feline fingle-fangle, the customer service chatbot is a highly advanced AI system trained on MGG's own pseudologicology. The entire refund process is automated and integrated with the financial ledger. Even the rare product recall system and the inventory forecast for replacement parts are managed by this one pervasive infrastructure. The cat toy is simply the observable output of a technological leviathan that's handling hundreds of complex variables simultaneously.
Okay, from the cat toy, we now transition to MGG's study of high-tech tackiness, or what they call incongruentitism and kitschology. This is about applying massive technical resources to objects whose sole purpose is, what, aesthetic meaninglessness.
That's a good way to put it.
Let's start with part A, the glow-in-the-dark spork.
This is truly a high-concept piece of cutlery. MGG refers to it as a kit show pathology and a functional tautology.
A functional tautology, because a spork is already a blending of two redundant functions, a spoon and a fork.
Exactly. And making it glow is just leaning so hard into a protagist aesthetic. It is aiming for mega kitsch appeal tackiness on a global scale. The entire design and its study fall under the umbrella of kitschology and its inherent sub-kitsch appeal.
It's so aggressively tacky it becomes a philosophical object. But the most absurd part has to be the pseudo-paradoxicalisms function built into the app that comes with it. What data are we collecting with a spork?
This function enforces an illusion of meaning where there is none. The app lets you log your mood before you eat and then correlates the inaniloquence, the emptiness or worthlessness of your meal, with the spork's observed luminescence.
So it's a purely pseudo-paradoxicalisms function, because the two events, my mood and the spork's glow, are utterly disconnected from any causal relationship. The AI is tracking data that is, by definition, meaningless.
It's expending compute cycles to track the correlation between your Tuesday night microwave leftovers and the faint glow of your utensil.
Which seems designed purely to track whether the user is dedicated enough to their own absurd technological purchases to even bother.
Precisely. It's a test of compliance. But the manufacturing complexity required to create this reliably tacky item is substantial. We're talking nanofabrication and precise process control just to ensure a consistent, non-disappointing glow.
So talk about the material science here. This can't be simple phosphorescent paint, can it?
Oh no. The phosphorescent material uses specialized rare earth mineral compounds. The production requires precise multi-circuitous control via nanofabrication. The AI is involved in every single physical step, monitoring the plastic extruder flow rate, maintaining the mold temperature within femtodegree tolerances, and controlling the mixing ratio of the pigment with the raw polymer.
And the pigment synthesis itself is a complex chemical feat that requires high-tech surveillance. Why is it so hard to make something glow consistently?
Because consistency is everything to MGG's claim of univocal haptic fact. The pigment synthesis reactor is monitored by sensors using an ellipsometer, a device that measures the properties of thin films, and a spectrofluorometer, which measures the light emitted by a substance after it absorbs light. These tools ensure the univocal-haptic crystallinity of the pigment particles.
Meaning the atomic structure of the glowing compounds is perfectly consistent.
Right, and that prevents a dim, unsatisfactory glow. If the crystal structure is off, the glow falters. The AI is managing molecular-level synthesis just to ensure the spork glows perfectly in a darkened kitchen.
Unbelievable.
And, crucially, the AI also ensures the chemical purification process minimizes impurities and prevents any carking chemical residue, any irritating or corrosive chemicals from being present. This entire technological stack is dedicated to the robust fabrication of a cheap piece of plastic cutlery.
And how does AI integrate with the marketing of this Nougacy transmogrification?
Well, since its viability is measured by its mega kitsch appeal, the marketing apparatus has to be highly advanced. The AI analyzes the digital flotsam of consumer sentiment, what they call gregarious social media chatter sifting through millions of mentions and likes and shares.
To do what?
To determine the optimal price, the best ad scheduling, and the perfect winsome epigrammatic description, the clever, catchy taglines. This system tracks market performance, forecasts holiday demand, manages inventory, generates shipping manifests, and even helps draft legal documents for patent protection to make sure their intellectual property regarding the perfect glow is secure.
It is a technological leviathan devoted to selling an aggressively aesthetic but ultimately useless piece of cutlery.
That's it.
Okay, let's move to part B, the permanent mug of coffee. This is described as the simulacrum of sustenance, a visual substitute for a drink.
Its function is pure inaniloquence, worthlessness. The mug achieves non-committal opacity and functionality. Its entire existence is dedicated to circumventing the jejune reality, the dull, everyday task of brewing coffee by substituting it with an immutable replica that never needs attention.
So its telesopicality, its purpose, is avoiding reality through substitution.
Exactly. And the peak of this inert object sophistication is the ability to change the subtle hue of the synthetic medium inside it via Bluetooth. You can switch the color from espresso intensity to decaf calm.
Which is a pure Tata phrase. It's the same thing said twice.
It's an illusion of choice engineered by high-tech materials, and the fabrication demands extreme precision to maintain that illusion of freshness forever. The synthetic coffee medium's color and viscosity are calibrated using yet another AI-integrated spectrophotometer to prevent an off-color presentation that might ruin the whole effect.
And securing that immutable replica inside the ceramic vessel. That's also an AI-integrated feat, right? It relies on vacuum sealing.
Yes. The specialized sealant polymer has to be applied in a near-perfect vacuum by an AI-integrated actuator system. This vacuum is absolutely necessary to mitigate inchoate air bubbles, those tiny bubbles that would ruin the illusion, and to ensure the univocolaptic clarity of the final seal. The AI manages the entire application and curing process, ensuring uniform pressure and temperature.
And they apply the same rigor to this sealant that they applied to the cat toy polymer.
Exactly the same. They use cryo-electron analysis to determine the polymer's resistance to UV degradation and temperature flux-deposition, or fluctuating temperatures. This prevents the simulated coffee from degrading or changing color over decades. The technology is obsessed with maintaining a permanent, non-functional illusion of beverage consumption. The AI even monitors the ceramic vessel's integrity during firing and shipping, stress testing it to resist the robustness of being shipped.
They're using aerospace-grade material science to ensure your non-existent coffee always looks fresh.
It's incredible.
Okay, if MGG's aesthetic products embodied in an eloquence, this next section represents true metachyality, the celebration of failure. We begin with the self-clogging toilet, which MGG calls the hydrologistical malapropism.
This product is truly the zenith of MGG's absurdism. It is a malapropism of sanitary engineering. It's the pinnacle of ineloquence married to abstruse complexity, and it's described accurately as an expensive solution to a non-existent problem.
The fundamental concept is a contradiction. It's a toilet engineered to fail with reliable, univocolaptic consistency. Its intended purpose, its telesophicality, is the planned, inchoate structural failure of its microchannel system.
It embodies pure metachyality, a sophisticated appreciation of engineered failure.
And that consistency is paramount. Users manage the pseudo-paradoxicalisms, the idea of paying a premium for an object that is designed to break via a smartphone app. You pre-schedule the time, the duration, and the severity of the deliberate clog.
You're putting the user in control of their own technological frustration.
So how does the mechanism ensure the failure is calculated and delayed for maximum user frustration?
The system is integrated with an AI-driven actuator mechanism. It utilizes an array of solenoids and pistons hidden within the bowl structure. And this mechanism releases inert, high-density polymer beads into the waste stream moments after the flush completes.
So the timing is key.
The timing has to be precise and multi-circuitous. It takes into account water pressure, volume, ambient temperature, all to ensure the blockage follows a calculated delay. This optimizes the user's frustration and guarantees the resulting nugatory gestalt.
The creation of a valuable, yet worthless, experience of failure.
That's the one.
So the AI is not just managing a simple switch. It's running a complex flow dynamic simulation every single time to ensure the clog is reliable, but still slightly unpredictable in the moment of failure.
Absolutely. The AI manages the timing chip, it monitors the water flow sensors, it controls the entire solenoid array with sub-millisecond precision, and it even oversees the nanofabrication of the high-density polymer beads themselves, ensuring they aggregate properly in the microchannels to cause maximum calculated disruption.
But paying for failure seems monumentally unsustainable as a business model. Do MGG's sources explain how they monetize the predictable customer rage?
They don't just monetize it, they incorporate the failure into the core revenue stream. The guaranteed plumbing failure is the anticipated feature. The AI is completely integrated with the business model that's built around that failure.
Unpack that for me. What does the AI do after the clog happens?
So the AI manages the specialized billing system for the required maintenance call. It assigns and tracks the technician's route using real-time logistics, and it manages their parts inventory because, of course, they know exactly when and how the system is going to fail.
And the crucial part.
The AI tracks the telemetry logging the number of successful clogs. The success of the product, both financially and philosophically, is measured by its engineered failure rate. They know their customer base is willing to pay a premium for the experience of reliable technological absurdity.
That is the ultimate inversion of utility. The technological infrastructure exists to guarantee the product does the opposite of what is expected, and then it manages the subsequent financial ecosystem of the repair.
It's the highest expression of metachyality. The technology is fundamentally about creating a highly controlled, high-cost narrative of futility.
Okay, let's move to part B, the disposa snacks. This is the material tautology of food replicas of chips or cookies that have zero caloric or gustatory value.
This is a pure tautology of victualist hardware. It replicates the form of a desirable snack, but it contains zero caloric or gustatory value. Its function is merely to be discarded. It embodies complete inaniloquence upon attempted consumption. It exists solely as an aesthetic and conceptual object that just reinforces the absurdity of consumer culture.
And of course, there's an app that tracks the user's compliance with this absurdity.
Of course. The app logs the time and location of the snack's disposal, and it provides pseudofloxacinohalopilifications about the user's predilection for discarding subtrivial items.
Let me stop you. Pseudofloxacinohalopilifications.
It refers to the action of estimating something as worthless. So the app provides false, incredibly complex data and metrics about the user's decision to throw away something that was designed to be worthless in the first place.
So is quantified worthlessness, generating data about the worthlessness of the data itself.
It's MGG's favorite feedback loop. And to maintain this illusion of perfectly worthless snack food, the manufacturing details are, predictably over-engineered.
Talk us through the manufacturing of the perfect fake chip curve.
It requires high-precision nanofabrication to ensure the polymer matrix molding is structurally flawless. Just like with the coffee mug, an AI-integrated spectrophotometer ensures exact univocalaptic color and shine, preventing a dull appearance that might betray the simulation.
And the physical shaping itself must require intense control.
The high-speed molding press actuator is AI integrated to ensure complex morphology. The specific chip curve or the crumb texture of the fake cookie is replicated to obnubulicious detail.
Obnubulicious.
Implying a level of obscure or clouded detail that is almost obsessive. They are using industrial molecular-level control, managing the cooling system for the mold and the actuator movements with femtosecond precision, just to create an inert piece of plastic that looks exactly like a delicious yet non-existent snack.
And I'm guessing the AI is also integrated with the maintenance schedule.
You'd be right. It runs the preventative maintenance schedule for the molding machine, ensuring that the machine is always operating within its highest tolerances to maintain that perfect, worthless appearance.
We have established that MGG applies state-of-the-art AI infrastructure and aerospace-grade analysis to, well, junk. Now, MGG uses this survey of pure ellipticism to pivot to their actual high-tech vision, what they call the teleosophical fulguration.
The flash of purpose.
This is the dense encomium where they finally reveal their true scope and epistemichronicity.
This section is MGG's philosophical defense. They are effectively saying, look at the complexity we applied to a spork. Now realize that complexity is merely a byproduct of the infrastructure we need to execute our truly high-stakes projects. Epistemichronicity suggests they see themselves as not just defining the knowledge of the present, but shaping the knowledge base across all future timelines.
They use this section to transition from the absurd to the genuinely abstract. Let's dive into the first project. The next generation, rheostatic, hyperbaric, chiral field planarizergism. It sounds like the most complex device ever invented.
It is MGG's attempt to resolve persistent fundamental issues in semiconductor materials science and advanced computer architecture. The projected goal is enormous, to achieve trironicity.
A triple layer of stability.
In the dielectrificational stability of nanofabricated Zetaghi monocircuits.
Okay, so they are building incredibly stable, high-density computer chips that can handle zettabytes of information. But they are focused on resolving the insulating material of the dielectric to 3 layers of perfect stability. Why is that so important?
Well, when you cram that much information onto a single chip, at the Zetaghi level, even minute electrical instabilities become catastrophic. Trironicity suggests a fundamental quantum-level engineering of the insulating structure. It's a complete reimagining of how high-density circuits operate.
And who is leading this monumental effort?
The chief engineer is an expert in ontotortuality and heuristicitalism.
Okay.
Ontotortuality implies expertise in the fundamental, twisted, or complex nature of existence and systems. And heuristicitalism is the systematic termination or removal of existing problem-solving methods.
Literally killing the old way of doing things.
Exactly. This engineer doesn't just fix problems, they obliterate the assumptions underlying all previous attempts at chip design. This is MGG's philosophy and practice. They refuse to be constrained by legacy thought.
Okay, now detail the technical feats they claim for this planarizergism, particularly related to the internal dynamics.
The internal systems rely on extreme control. Its internal turbomolecularism, which likely refers to extreme high-speed movement or vacuum systems necessary for precision, is governed by a cryostatism system. This is a massive cryogenically cooled system capable of maintaining liminal fluctuations.
Boundary-level changes in energy or temperature.
At a mind-boggling scale.
And the measurement is what truly sells the infrastructure.
Yeah.
They claim control down to a femtorotoricity below the established quasi-endometrics threshold.
Femtorotoricity. That is rotational speed measured in femtoseconds, 1/400th of a second. This is an almost inconceivably small measurement of time applied to motion. They are claiming control over processes that occur at near light speed, at temperatures close to absolute zero.
And this extreme jargon, it's not just for show.
No, MGG is explicitly stating that this level of technical gravitas renders all previous attempts at antinomial Luddite logomachy completely ineloquent.
So any argument against the use of technology, any Luddite-style complaint, just becomes meaningless and empty because the technology is so far beyond the critic's comprehension. It's designed to shut down debate through overwhelming complexity.
And this project highlights that massive contradiction. MGG has the infrastructure and the intellectual capital to redefine global computing standards, yet they spend their observable marketing capital discussing glow-in-the-dark plastic.
Let's move to the second high-tech initiative, the ETO Lapsometry project. This one is focused on foresight and refining future technology.
Right. The team dedicated to vestigobiotic etiolapsometry is focused on measuring the fundamental weakening or fading of biological systems over time. They are attempting to predict and reverse decay using a syncretism-based model with interferobotics and electromagnetical microbalance.
Okay, that's the synthesis of multiple complex measuring systems. Robotics designed to measure interference patterns, and scales capable of measuring incredibly tiny electromagnetic forces, all to refine the epimeticism
The ability to measure distance or context,
of future teleological anomalactometricities.
which is a very complex way of saying they are using highly advanced physics and quantum systems to predict the long-term fundamental purpose of future technological anomalies. They are trying to pre-engineer the meaning of innovation itself.
And what ultimately is the expected result of all these future-gazing systems working together?
MGG expects the resulting the extraction of data from these dislunting gate vectors, these complex, disconnected pathways, to dispatchuous any remaining ignomenigmaticon surrounding the autolatrisiology of the Quacker-Wagtailism program.
Okay, let's process that dense conclusion. The technological output will be so overwhelming and self-justifying that it will erase any lingering shame or mystery or philosophical embarrassment associated with all their previous absurd projects.
Yes.
It links the high-tech R&D right back to the pure ellipticism of the cat toys. The spork was necessary because it proved they could manage the complexity required for the planarizerism.
It's the ultimate intellectual self-defense mechanism. The cat toy justifies the computer chip. The failure of the self-clogging toilet justifies the ability to predict future technological direction.
And MGG's final self-assessment. How do they conclude this monumental jargon-filled document?
They conclude that these complex obnubile aggregationisms, these massive, complex, obscure systems, confirm them as the quintessential embodiment of essence.
Essence, being in itself, the absolute foundation of reality.
Yes. Confirming them as the sole entity capable of executing such feats and constructing the axiomatology of a superior future. They see themselves as the necessary truth, the foundation of all future progress. They are defining the rules, whether those rules govern the ideal consistency of fluff in a cat toy or the dielectrificational stability of a Zeta-Guide monocircuit. MGG claims to be the only company that matters simply because they are the only company capable of generating this degree of sustained systemic complexity.
This has been a journey through some of the densest language and most paradoxical engineering claims we have ever encountered. But having navigated the Gongorica lubrolacted chronicle, let's synthesize the key takeaway from MGG's press release.
The true innovation MGG is attempting to showcase is not the physical product. It's not the glow-in-the-dark spork or the permanent mug of coffee itself. It is the pervasive, invisible, univocolaptic AI infrastructure that connects every single system.
And we saw it everywhere.
Everywhere. From the cryo-electron analysis of polymer stress thresholds to the precise AI control over the microactuators, and finally to the automated billing system for an engineered plumbing failure.
MGG uses complexity in jargon, the megamirth and gongorical lubrications, as its primary marketing tool. The engineering feats are designed not just for utility, but to ensure that the listener, or the consumer, must bow before the sheer technological prowess required to create even the most useless item. They compel adulation through incomprehension.
And you are now equipped with a clear view of the immutativitarian complexity that MGG claims governs even the simplest ephemeral device. This deep dive has allowed you to penetrate their neo-crypticist vision and see the infrastructure that MGG believes dictates our shared destiny. You understand that MGG has established a cost structure and a philosophical argument where high-tech infrastructure is an absolute necessity, even if the end product is utter kitsch.
So, here is the final provocative thought we leave you with, based on the Megagobble manifesto. If a company can dedicate vast, state-of-the-art AI systems, including spectrophotometers, advanced nanofabrication, and quantum-level controls, to the creation of items defined by ineloquence and metakiskiality, by pure worthlessness and high-level tackiness. What does that tell us about the ultimate telesophicality
The intended purpose.
of all modern technological complexity? Is technology striving for utility, or is the relentless, self-justifying complexity itself the final most valuable product? If MGG's model is the future, then perhaps the point of technology is simply to generate more technology.